So one of the common things we see is organizations that as they grow, they just start sharing credentials, or they used shared user accounts that's shared between 3 or 4 different people to access content. Whilst this might seem like a good cost-saving, thing to do, sharing these credentials and stuff, there's so many problems with it. Not of which is that you're kind of, breaching the terms of service of these organisations, and now that email or those credentials are being shared between multiple people when you really should be buying a license, right? But the main issue is around accountability. Right? There is no way of knowing who did what under a shared user credentials. Everyone is mucking in. That all has the same name associated with every file modification, every action that occurs within that environment. So each environment, each system has a different way of managing this. In the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, what we see is that quite often people will create a generic account, call it accounts or info or admin, etc. And they'll ask their team to log in with that. And the reason they do this is they think that, okay, so this is a temporary role. This role may change, and we just hand the user credentials around to others. Again, it seems like an easy thing to do, and it seems like a great way of solving a problem of having a consistent email address. But you again lose that accountability. Instead, what you should be doing, especially in the 365 space, is creating a unique user account for every individual in your business. Yes, there's a license fee associated with that, right? And you have to factor that in. But if you're able to hire someone at $50,000 a year, then what's $20 or $30 a month for that person to do their work? It's not a lot in the scheme of things. So go and get a license for each individual and have their name on it, their own email address and everything else. Then for those shared mailboxes and stuff, there's a concept in Microsoft 365 called a shared mailbox. And the advantage of this is, let's say you've got an info at whatever your business is, right? That shared mailbox can then be accessed by more than one person at a time. Anyone who replies to that mailbox can reply as that shared mailbox, and there's a few other things to make sure that sent items and other stuff happen. But the point is that it's now responded to as that entity, which means, let's say, for example, you've got an accounts mailbox, you've got a bookkeeper that you assign access to, they log in, let's call them Joe. Joe logs in and then gets shared access to the account. Now, any personal related stuff, password resets or anything for the individual alone goes to Joe's mailbox. But all the account-related stuff goes to accounts. Now, the advantage here is that you can also grant yourself access to that mailbox. You can see what's going on. Same as any files that are created elsewhere, anything that happens, all activities that happen, have that name on it. Now, let's take an example of Joe, your bookkeeper. Joe leaves, and then Bob comes in, right? So Joe, she hands it over to Bob. What we do is we close down Joe's account, lock it so that they don't access or remove the license. We then assign the license to Bob. He gets his brand new account with his own email address, with everything associated with himself. Then any emails or any things that he touches now have Bob's name on it. But here's the cool thing, is anything that Joe, even though we've got rid of the account, has her name associated with that. So we can see who did what when, and we can have that traceability and auditability. This is really, really important. You need accountability in your business. Don't be tempted to share credentials and share mailboxes and just hand over accounts as we go. Create unique accounts for each individual and create shared spaces or wherever else they need to work. You've got that traceability, you know who did what, and there's none of this blame game, right? It was their fault. Okay? Keep it simple, but keep it accountable.